Welcome back to the Mid-Year YouTube channel. In today's episode, we're doing a project car review on a unique split window that's for sale on eBay right now, so be sure to stick around. So I saw this car on eBay and I thought it was a pretty affordable car whenever I first saw the price, but then I looked a little closer and realized this car isn't exactly what it appears, and once we get into it, you'll see what I mean. I've had a couple people ask me about rebodying cars, specifically taking like a C4 Corvette, putting a C2 body on it, and people have asked me about some of the cars where it's like a C6 or C7 Corvette that they put a different body on those as well. So this ties into all of those, so let's dive into the details. To start off, let's discuss the differences between chassis swaps, body swaps, and resto mods, just to get that out there, and then we can proceed with the video. So to start off with, say you have like a 48 Chevy pickup truck, which is pretty common. The suspension in them is pretty antiquated, and the brakes and everything, they're not really designed for modern highway driving. They were more of a farm type vehicle. So what people do is they take S10 chassis from say like 80s, 90s, early 2000s. They buy a kit where you can put a small block in them, you can put different body mounts on them, and you can put your chassis or your body directly on this chassis, and it gives you the ability to have disc brakes, power steering, modern rear end, and you can actually drive the thing on the highway. And then if we go into say a resto mod, like this here from the Roadster shop, this is a 55 Chevy being dropped on one of, I believe, their spec series chassis. You don't have to do any modifications to the body, but this is a completely aftermarket chassis with an LS that's dressed up to look like an old 283 or 265, and it has coilovers, disc brakes, it's going to have a power rack and pinion, probably has a Ford 9-inch. Just everything's very modern, it's very stiff, don't have to worry about it rusting, any of that kind of stuff. So this is a step up from doing a chassis swap because everything's brand new, aftermarket, and it was designed to fit this vehicle, not necessarily like an S10. And the final one we're going to talk about would be a body swap. So say you have an old Toyota truck like this. This is from Puddin's Fab Shop, by the way. You have this old truck, which I think he got for free, and he had an old Toyota Stout, which is this little guy right here. So you can see that it sits pretty high, and it had some ugly gaps that he really didn't like, but it was hard to get parts for. It was hard to find brake hardware and suspension parts, so instead of doing that, he did a body swap, which requires you to just start cutting your body. You're going to cut your firewall out, your floor, and you see he cut up to the back here, and he left just a very little bit along the windshield, and that's it. So then what he did is he took that Toyota pickup truck, the later model one, and he did the opposite to it. He left the rockers, the back of the floor, he left the structure for the front of the cab, the firewall, the dash, and it still runs and drives. It still has the brakes hooked up, the wiring still hooked up. It's just like a running, driving skateboard. And then what you do is you mate the two together, but the biggest way you can really tell that you did one of these is the dash. You can see inside we still have the late model Toyota dash, steering wheel, all that stuff, but what it gives you at the end, he can see he has a lowered down, he channeled the body to get the stance that he wanted, but you get a more modern driving vehicle. It's a lot cheaper to do than, say, a chassis swap, and there are some chassis out there, like this one, if you're required to cut the floor out, some of them do come with a floor that goes with them. So that's the biggest differences between these swaps. So now let's jump into that split window. It's for sale here on eBay, although the listing went up and down several times. He's added pictures and changed the format of it, so I had to keep saving it because he kept pulling it down. So he said best offer gets it. It is a 63 split window sitting on a 96 frame, so this is going to fall into the body swap category. It's got a built LT1 auto. It's been sitting a while, has minor body damage. I believe his definition of minor is a little different than mine. Lots of new things. He said it was stolen and recovered. The title is a 63. We're going to talk about why I don't believe there's much original 63 in here. But you can go through and read this. The interior is not, you're not missing much with that. It needs a lot of work. But from the outside, from this particular angle, which is why he has this picture shown, this looks like a regular split window. You've got bumpers, taillights, the gas door. It looks like the proportions are right. But as we get into it, you can tell that it's a body swap. And I believe it's mostly an aftermarket body. The biggest thing that I don't like proportions-wise is when people delete the headlights, it makes the front end look a little goofy. It doesn't have the front bumpers, and I believe this hood is custom because they either stretched the front end or someone just made this stinger, because the point of the stinger is way too short compared to like the cowl part. It just looks goofy. So you can see we have, what are those, the C5 Corvette wheels, early C5 wheels on it. There's no vent windows in it, and I'll show you why I believe this car has aftermarket doors as well. I'm not sure what they're showing us besides the fact that it's a newer Corvette. There's no exhaust in the back, but you can see there's some custom tubes in here. Must be to support the body or to try to tie the bodies together. You can see the back just looks like a blue Corvette with some scuffs in it. Yeah, the interior, the picture was taken while you're moving, but also all this cloth is just falling off. This part wasn't done well. If I could see what it looked like underneath this cloth, we could be able to identify really quick whether this is a real Corvette body or not. There's no wiper grills in here, and you can see the shape's a little different than a real Corvette, so I think that this is an aftermarket tub. And it has flush mounted windows, which doesn't really bother me. The headlights are filled in, but proportionally it looks okay. It might be a little wider right here. It's looking a little bulgy to me. But they said they spent a lot of money on fiberglass. Now this is the part that I really wanted to talk about. You can see we have late C4, I think those are C5 seats. It's an automatic, just got a chintzy wood steering wheel in it. And this is where it gets weird with these body swaps, is you have an original part of a C2 dash, but it looks like it could be a reproduction fiberglass because the dash pads are molded into the center. So I think it's aftermarket, but there's a big gap between the dash pad and the C4 dash. I don't know how well you can see that. The pictures aren't great. You can see there's a huge gap here that's just floating in the breeze. So if you zoom down here, this to me looks like a C4 sill plate or a C4 rocker. That's not C2. So right away I'm concerned with how this body is fixed to the C4 top. Now Corvettes have, as you know, bird cages, and I just started 3D printing these. These are for sale on my website, but I thought these would be a good little thing, a talking point, to talk about different advantages and disadvantages to doing something like this. So Corvettes, this is like all the steel that you have in the body. The fiberglass is skinned on top, and if you would cut, say, the floor and firewall out and try to put this on something else, well, unlike a Camaro or something that's made of steel, there's not as much to bite to really build off of. So it can be, and if you start cutting at this too much, these aren't very strong. There's not a lot to them. So if you start cutting on those, you're not going to have much left. So head over to my website if you're interested in a little bird cage. I have couplings coming soon as well. They basically took a C4 and they made it into, they took a C4 like this, pretty nice car, and they cut it into a skateboard. This one, I believe, is the Roadkill Vet Cart. But they basically did this, and he probably cut the windshield off, which is why this car looks original. A lot of body swaps sometimes have the windshield whenever they're more mild. This one's pretty major because they supposedly took one body and plopped it on the other. Oh, this is a better picture. You can see this big hole in the dash. So I don't know what you would do to fix that. I would probably try to figure out a standalone wiring harness, maybe put Holley EFI on it, and then you could get away with an original 63 style cluster and start to get rid of some of this stuff. That, or you just put an original C4 dash back in it, because to me this combination between the two doesn't work. You could try to put a filler in here, but it's going to look kind of goofy. This picture is upside down. It's a C4 engine, I guess. This is just a random picture of a C4, maybe it's showing that it has coilovers. I don't know if something's broken here. This looks like it was torched off, and there's a bolt shoved on that hose. So the build quality could be questionable. This is the part that makes me think that this isn't a real Corvette body. You can see just barely a little bit into the sill plate. To me, that still doesn't look like a C2. If it is, it's C2 grafted on to the C4, and the door jamb does not look C2 to me, but this door is aftermarket for sure. You can tell it looks like this is hand laid for the door skin, and just the way the structure is cut and what's left, That does not look like a C2 door to me. And the fact that it's so hacked up means there's not much strength in it. Someone cut all this up to try to put a door popper in here because there's no door handles and electric power windows. So good luck with figuring all that out. But this needs to have a piece of sheet metal or fiberglass to reinforce it. This door is too floppy. You're going to lose your structure. But if the door is a reproduction on the car, I don't believe the body would be original. And see this, he said minor damage. I mean, that whole quarter split. So that doesn't look great to me. And another blurry picture of a paint chipping. This is, I believe, where the headlight was filled in. It's coming back. So, I mean, if you want a nice car, you're going to have to redo this thing. Because there's just scuffs, and the paint's probably not great on it. The exhaust is cut off. It's just, someone wasn't done with this, is what it looks like to me. The doors are really never closed in it, which means it probably has a dead battery, and they don't want to deal with the door poppers. But if you look, let me try to find another picture. You may not be able to tell what I'm talking about, but on the back of the door, it's really thick. And the door glass doesn't really follow the door. There's something odd about the proportions here. And part of the problem is this car has flat glass in the doors, where originally the glass does have some shape to it both ways. It's not perfectly flat. So this is like plate glass that you'd see in like a house window, is kind of what it looks like to me. You can tell right here how deep this is. To me, that tells me that these are reproduction doors. And based on the fact that this is missing, it looks like the back of the cow's cracked. Back of the cow hood's all smashed. It looks like we're missing, the wiper grills and the proportions. This ramps up. I know at one point I found pictures of it for a guy on, I think, a C2 Corvette Grand Sport page, where he thought he had original or a Grand Sport kit, but really what it was a kit like this to take a C4 Corvette and make it look like a C2. So this is really a sheep in wolf's clothing, but proportionally it's all goofy. This is all a kit. I don't believe any of this fiberglass is from an original 63 to 67 Corvette. It's a nice kit because it is proportionally correct, versus a kit like this. This was done, I believe, by a factory or a shop that does this. This was a C6 Corvette, and you can tell, by the windshield, the door mirrors, the door handles, gas door, and like the overall profile of the door. Basically what they do is they re-engineer body panels to fit the C6 Corvette. It still has the same hood opening shape as a C6 Corvette, but it's designed to look like it's a C2 Corvette. You can see the shape here. So it's all kind of like an OEM style. The original interior of the Corvette is kept, like colors or some stuff. I don't know if they ever had red steering wheels, but they changed some stuff to make it look OEM, and this is probably the nicest quality body swap you can buy, is something like this, because they custom make the windows. They might use original windows, but they custom make the whole back of the car. They use original bumpers and taillights. It uses more of a stock late model Corvette exhaust, new quarter panels, new fenders. They re-engineer everything on these cars. They make these cute little headlights that pop up. I think they may custom design the grille, but you can see the proportions are completely wrong compared to an original, more original looking Corvette. You can see how much the proportions change. These are still good looking. Someone asked me my opinion of these. Generally, I think they're cool to look at. To me, they're not exactly the same as the old ones, so I really don't like them. I like the old ones because of the way they look, where these ones are a little funky to me. The biggest thing is the price tag. This is really well executed. You could still take this to your Chevy dealership. They can service it. It's a late model Corvette. All the bells and whistles inside work, because they did something similar to what Puddin did on his, except they left the actual structure of the car alone. They never touched the structure. And then if we go to the split window, which you can see the price of this one, get out here. Price of this one, completely different. You're getting a completely different quality car. And I believe on this car, there's no birdcage. These are available on my website. I just started making them. I thought they'd be a neat little trinket to put on your desk or whatever. But I thought they'd be good to talk about in this case. I don't believe there's a bird cage in this car at all. I will also have these in the coupe version as well. Originally, these bird cages bolted through 3 places on each side to the chassis. And if you're doing a body swap, what you would do is you'd unbolt that, pick this up, throw the chassis away, you'd cut the floor out, cut the firewall out, and you would try and graft this into another car. Now, the challenge is with that is this is the only steel you have in a Corvette. And a lot of times, late model cars are way wider than the old cars from the 60s. That's the problem people have. Most times you'll see people cut a body in half and stretch it and put it over a late model car and it looks goofy. But if you're putting a C2 on a C4, the rockers are going to get in the way, and you're going to have to find a way to try and channel that on. So I would never do that with an original body, because I would rather go with like the Roadster shop. As you guys know, I like using those chassis. I would rather go with this approach because you're guaranteed to get your money back out of it. Because this is a high quality part. You can reverse it if you really wanted to. You can pull all the bolts out, take the chassis out, put something else under it if you want to. It's serviceable, and it's just a high quality way to do it. Where the body swap, you're going to end up with just goofy stuff where there's, what are we looking at here? You have part of a C2 tub, part of a C4 tub. I really don't know what all is combined here. The quality is going to suffer, especially in areas like this. This is just, for lack of a better word, this is kind of janky. I mean, if you want a split window that's cheap, the windows are tinted black for a reason. You're not supposed to see what's going on in here. So if you just want to clean this thing up, if you redid the interior and put a different steering wheel in it, fix the dash, and you fix some of the cracks in the body, you'd have a pretty respectable car. But I worry about the structure of it. That could be why things are cracking, that could be why things are moving. And the doors in kit cars are always a nightmare. I did some more digging, and this is looks like a C5 kit, where you could put a C2 body on a C5, and you can see how the proportions of this are off as well. So I changed my mind. I don't think that the person that built the 63 had a kit that was designed for a C4. I have seen some of them. I can't quite find the pictures at this moment. I'm guessing what they did is they probably bought something like this from ACI, where it's a whole back end, and they bought a whole front end and basically just slapped them on top of that car, because the proportions of a C4 aren't right. So I don't know if they shortened that car, the C4. I don't know what they had to do to get it all to physically fit. But it's just, here's a C. I think this is a C4. This is what a C4 kit would look like, where you can see this is really short, and this is 22 feet longer than it needs to be. This is ridiculous. So they actually may have had to stretch the wheelbase of the C4 to get things to line up. But you can see behind the door, the dog leg here for the quarter is about a third of the width it should be. This might be a little wider, but this isn't terrible. But they only could fit 3 gills in here. There wasn't nearly enough room, and this is just ridiculous compared to what it should look like. There's some cars down here. So I don't know what this car really is. I think you would have to look at it closely in person. I would never buy this sight unseen. I would go look at it. I think it might be in Texas or something. You would have to look at this car, because this one has question marks all over it. So overall, I may have sounded a little harsh on this car. I think there was a lot of good intentions there. It just needs some more follow through to get it up to snuff. I think it has a lot of potential, and I think if you put some time into this car, you could have a pretty cool hot rod. If you pull up to the car show, a lot of people wouldn't know that it's a C4 Corvette unless you really looked at it and started poking around and seeing some of the nuances with it. I think it's a cool car, but you would have to go look at it in person, because I really don't like the thought of taking the bird cage, cutting it up a lot more, and trying to graft it into a C4. There's not a lot of strength here already, and I don't think there's an original bird cage in it. There could be some tube structure in it, but I don't think there's a lot of original stuff on this car. But you would have to talk to the owner about that if you're interested in it. Again, I'm not trying to bash it. I just trying to be realistic here. Body swaps, if they're done well, like the one that Puddin did on that Stout, that was a really nice truck. It was done well. Does it have the original interior? Yeah, but he figured out a cool way to graft it in and make it what he wanted. He put some custom seats in it, custom inserts in the door panels, and he tied it all together, and he made it a custom truck for himself. And at the end of the day, a Toyota Stout, totally tricked out, is not going to be worth what a 63 split window that sells at Barrett-Jackson for crazy dollars is going to be worth. So in my opinion, this car was held short by the body swap, because if it is a real 63 Corvette body, it was held short with the body swap, because it's always going to be dated as basically a 96 Corvette. Or if you put it on a late model chassis with the latest and greatest stuff, at some point C7 stuff will be outdated and there'll be better stuff out there. But it's still a really rigid platform. It was designed well, and it's going to drive phenomenal. Where a C4 Corvette is still great, but it has a C4 floor pan, and to me they're a little claustrophobic. They're hard to get in and out of, and you don't have a lot of leg room side to side. So for me, the C4 has a lot of drawbacks that a Roadster Shop chassis, Art Morrison chassis, won't have. That's my opinion. It could be a good buy. Just do your research. I don't hate body swaps. I plan on doing some. I have a chassis swap planned for my 48 Chevy truck, and one day I would like to do a body swap, I don't know, on like a 54 Chevy Bel Air, where we chop and channel it onto like a Camaro chassis or something. That would be a build I would love to do one day down the road, but we're not to that point. But I like stuff looking original. I like interiors looking more original. I like the body looking more original. So a car like this just doesn't do it for me. But if your budget's lower and you got some DIY and you built some kit cars and you're not afraid to put something together, and maybe it doesn't work the first time, you're gonna have to keep changing it and altering it, this is the perfect car for you. Because last time I checked, you can't really buy a split window shell for $42,000. So maybe it's worth it if you want a hot rod. Let me know what you guys think. Would you tackle a project like this? Would you do a body swap? Do you like body swaps? Do you like chassis swaps? What are you interested in? Because this is certainly a unique creation, and hopefully I did it justice in this video. The pictures aren't great, so if you could get some fresh pictures or video before you bought something like this, get it on a lift, crawl around it, you could make yourself a good educated buy, and you may end up with something pretty cool. Let me know what you think. But that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. Please comment down below. Tell me what you think. And if you're interested in one of my little birdcage models, you can put it on your train going around the tree for Christmas. You could put it on your mantle, put it on your desk, and I even happen to balance it perfectly like the real ones are, so you could even hang it on your Christmas tree if you're feeling like it.